Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hopefully you like this video and subscribe as we talk about the New York Mets. So as you know, the Mets have not had a president of baseball operations for over a year since Sandy Alderson essentially retired and sent themselves packing. But the guy that's been on the radar for quite a long time now, for 2 years, with Steve Cohen, has been executive David Stearns. He was the general manager of the Brewers for a long time. He's now just a senior advisor there. But people were kind of wondering when the Mets were going to start talking to him. Apparently he was able to start talking to teams after the trading deadline, which was August 1st. So as you know, if you don't know, last week the Mets fired 4 members of the front office. Members that had been hired by the Wilpon family and was recently hired by Steve Cohen. That's David Howard. But the things are starting to heat up with David Stearns. I'm going to read you an excerpt of a video of an article from Mesmerized. The rumors of David Stearns returning to the Mets are closer to becoming a reality. Stearns is apparently down the road, quote unquote, in his discussion with Steve Cohen and the Mets regarding their vacant president of baseball operations positions. According to the Munchkin, Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon of The Athletic. Stearns became the general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers in 2015. In that time, he brought the Brewers to the postseason 5 times and acquired players such as Freddie Peralta, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Christian Yelich, and Jackson Chourio via trades, drafts, and free agency. He was promoted to the president of baseball operations in 2019. Now, right now, the Brewers are in first place. In all likelihood, barring some collapse, they're going to finish in first and go to postseason. Stearns' contract with the Brewers allowed him to speak with other major league teams after the August 1st deadline. He's been an advisor in an advisory role with the Brewers since stepping back from the front office duties this winter. While it's reported that he's down the line with the Mets, the other organization that Stearns is connected to is the Houston Astros. While the Mets have been the favorites, the Astros are a dark horse that could sign him. He previously worked for both the Mets and Astros before settling in Milwaukee, and his wife is from Houston. New York, however, may have the edge over Houston for several reasons. One, Stearns grew up a huge Mets fan and is from the New York City area. Mets also just fired 4 directors from their front office, leaving Stearns with complete freedom to run the organization from top to bottom. It was reported by The Athletic that Dana Brown, the current GM of the Astros, agreed to his position because there was no president of baseball operations, explaining it was easy to deal with the owner directly. Stearns, Billy Epler, and Cohen all declined. This is a comment from The Athletic regarding Stearns. His friends, however, reported to the Munchkin and Salmon that Stearns was re-energized and ready to return to a leadership position with a major league club. According to Andy Martino of SNY, the Mets will maintain Epler as the general manager if Stearns becomes the president of baseball operations. The push for Stearns has been present and seems almost inevitable. Cohen has publicly spoken about adding a president of baseball operations since buying the team has conveniently held out until 2023 when Stearns becomes a free agent. Now, we know for the last 3 years that they've had a lot of difficulty due in part that they wanted Stearns, but also they've had a difficult time finding people to run this franchise. And that's why he had Sandy Alderson here for a couple of years. Now, for the past year and a half, they haven't had anybody. And, you know, they need another check and balance here. They need another guy in that room that has a little push to him, a little bit of, just another guy. They just need to fill the position. But Stearns has an impressive resume. It'll be interesting to see if he does come here, how he handles New York, and how he handles the pressure here. It's a very different kind of animal here in New York, and in particular with the New York Mets. The New York Mets, I've said this many times, that the media hit the Mets harder than they do the New York Yankees. They have a narrative, and the narrative is that whatever the Mets do is always wrong. Even when it's the right move, it's the wrong move. But be that as it may, this would be an enormous person to get into the organization. He has a lot going for him, obviously, with being the general manager prior to this. Now, Now, I would mention that Billy Epler has 2 more years on his contract after this year. He did a very good job the first year. Not such a good job this year. He will be judged also on the trades that he made before the deadline, what kind of talent the Mets have brought in here. I would think that is very appealing to David Stearns enormously. Also keep in mind, I would mention this. Let me sort of mention this. I did not watch a good portion of last night's game last night. I was out with my lady friend. And I know it was said after the ball game. I know that the Mets manager, Buck Showalter, had something rather interesting and peculiar to say about some of the players, some of the young guys. Now, I'm not a fan of Brett Baty, but Brett Baty should be playing for the last 20-something games of the season, no matter what. The fact that Buck is so concerned about owing it to the other teams that he's not going to play Baty against a tough lefty, against a contending team, F the other teams, Buck. Don't worry about these other teams. Who cares? Get these players ready. Get them at bats. Get them reps. Nobody cares. Okay? All right? In the past, when the Mets have been down the stretch, teams did whatever they wanted to do. I know sometimes they complained. Look, if other teams complain, who cares? You know, if the Marlins complain the Mets are not playing their best players on the field, quote unquote, then that's the Phillies' problems, the Marlins' problems, or whatever. You know, it doesn't matter at this point. But some of the things I would mention, the biggest thing that will be under scrutiny, I would think, when David Stearns comes in here is the manager. The manager did a great job the first year, but his sort of weird kind of things that he has said after games, it's been peculiar. Now, this is a soft team. Sometimes you can get your softness from your manager. This team could have been a little bit tougher from the manager's standpoint. Just leave it at that. But a guy to keep an eye on is, of course, we've heard about him plenty of times, and that's Craig Counsell, who's the current manager of the Brewers. He is a free agent after their season. After the Brewers season is over, he's going to be a free agent. Baseball America voted him the best manager in the National League. That is nothing to sneeze at. And that is a guy that he's young. He has been a manager under Stearns. He's got all the sort of resume that you want with a guy that's coming in, and he's a younger guy. He's not an older guy. And he is a guy that could be the next manager of this team. He fills a lot of things that the next manager of this team should be. One of which is experience. The reason Buck was hired is because the 3 guys they hired prior to this had no experience, 0. Mickey Callaway, remember Mickey? Ding, 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 ding. Texting women all the time, getting himself in all kinds of trouble. He was hired. Then they hired Beltran. He got in trouble with his whole thing. The Wilpons got rid of him pretty quick, and then they brought in the befuddling, incompetent Luis Rojas, and we were stuck with Rojas for 2 seasons, and really they were running rampant on him. He didn't know what the hell was going on in his own clubhouse, but they brought him up because he was a guy that had a lot of experience, and they needed that. He was needed last year. This year, everything sort of just didn't work for whatever reason. And some of his weird comments over the last few months during the season has not really sat well with me, and hasn't sat well with a lot of people. So Craig Counsell fits a major thing. He's a younger guy. He's a guy that's into analytics. He's a guy that is well respected in the game, and he obviously wants to win a championship. The Mets want to win a championship here. There's not going to be any kind of financial constraints like there is in Milwaukee. So I would keep your eyes on him. That seems to be the most obvious thing. Now, I read a tweet a few days ago, specifically, easy for me to say, specifically when it came to when they fired the 4 guys in the front office. Peter Gammon said the Mets were going to hire a president of baseball operations within 2 weeks. So we're now a week. So I would expect some movement now coming in the next 10 days of David Stearns being the next head of this baseball operation. We will see, as I always say. But anyway, Let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.